Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Conversations by the Sea on this, which is our fourth episode now, I think.
Yeah.
The last episode, we obviously talked about depression and sort of dealing with that. And now we are having a light-hearted subject because we have a guest, which is exciting, our very first guest. So please welcome Katie from Katie Lingo. She's a fellow freelancer in the same kind of industry as us. So we thought it'd be good to get her on the podcast and chat about shared experience and, how the pandemic's impacted her business, just like it's impacted ours, and just really share some like-minded thoughts, I guess.
I think that with our first guest, we wanted somebody that we knew quite well and were comfortable with, which is why I've wrote Katie into this, because we've got the mics on the go, the camera on the go, the webcam, the Zoom and all that. So hopefully everything's gone to plan. I mean, even Louis Theroux's podcast has technical issues sometimes. So I think we'll allow ourselves that. But yeah, Katie, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Katie Lingo?
Sure. Hi. My name is Katie Thompson, not Katie Lingo, as some people do think.
That would be so coincidental.
That's your surname, but it's not. It's just a domain name that was available. I set up Katie Lingo in 2016. Prior to that, I'd had kind of like a journalism background. So since about 2012, I was working sort of like local magazines, sort of B2B trade titles and some lifestyle titles. Then I kind of transitioned into the more digital side of things, a few like content mills and then digital marketing agencies. And at the same time, I was doing a journalism qualification. So by that point, it was a lot more marketing-y and not as much writing. I was like, I want to get back to this. So I started doing Katie Lingo in 2016 as a bit of a side hustle, and then it just grew and grew, and now it's my full-time job. It's limited and everything. So,
when did you quit your job? Like what year did you, if it started in 2016, when did you become like full-time freelance?
2018.
Oh, so you were doing it for 2 years, like without
at
the same time?
Yeah, sort of coming home from work and starting again, which was quite useful if people were in America. But it just got to the point where it's like, I need sleep.
How did you start to find your first sort of clients? Because I always find that's the hardest step to take, really, is getting that first set of guaranteed sort of income.
Yeah, the first one was a bit naughty actually, because the BDM guy in our agency saw someone on LinkedIn, and he was a wedding photographer just looking for help with his blogs and stuff, and he pitched it to the agency, and my boss was like, it's a bit too small for us, and he was like, okay, do you want it? And then I rang him up, and I still work with him to this day. That was 4 years ago. So
it just shows that like people turning their nose up at like the small clients, like, agency. I know maybe that was too small for that agency, but sometimes it's those small people that you end up working with for like years and years, and end up being like, if you actually totaled up the amount of income that you've had from them and the relationship you've built, and then the referrals that they've given you as well, ends up being excuse me, Potter, sorry, Potter's decided to just start wailing. No. Like it ends up being really valuable, doesn't it, to the business? And
yeah, definitely, and he set me up with those people, so that was really good. And then I think I responded to a job advert from a local marketing agency in York, just looking for freelancers. And another one, I responded to a job advert, still work with all three of them actually, was a charity called Deafblind UK. So it's for like dual sensory loss. So I write for their magazine, and it's printed in like large print and braille. So they have like a quarterly magazine as well. So they were sort of my first three clients. And then I guess getting a lot more active on LinkedIn. Have you heard of an app called Shaper?
No.
It's sort of like Tinder for networking. I don't know how active it is now, but a couple of years ago, certainly it was quite good.
You
is your dog?
He's just like crying so much. He doesn't like it when both of us are like not giving him direct attention because he's so needy. Come sit here, Potter. You can be on the podcast. I don't even know if he's on the camera, but
no, he is. Yeah.
Oh, good lad. So it's quite interesting that you still work with like some of the same people that you've worked with from the start, because we had a bit of that as well. Like most of them we've acquired over the last like year or so, but even from the very early days, people quite like to stick with the same freelancer, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think it sounds really cheesy, but like relationship building is so important. Like just being able to have that banter almost. Like a lot of my clients, I'll just speak to them on the phone for hours, and won't be charging for that. Just because it's fun. I genuinely enjoy talking to them like we're friends. So
Yeah.
All for that.
What kind of like primary services do you offer then, Katie?
So I mean, I call myself a copywriter in terms of, because that's probably the best search term on LinkedIn. But I would rather just say more of an all-round content marketing, because I have that journalism background. I really love like writing interviews and features and things like that. But primarily, I really love writing people's blogs for them, just because it's, I still write a lot of promotional copy, obviously do a lot of copywriting, but I like really getting like to deep dive into
like editorial but commercial. You still do what you like as well, isn't it?
I love blog writing. I think I'm currently working on some social media stuff, and it's just like soul crushing compared to writing. Blogs just suit my attention span so much better.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can put your personality across a lot more, and it's just fun, like researching stuff. You learn so much, don't you? As a content writer. So
I always say, Ellen, that we become, I think, like working in this industry, you become an expert in like such weird little things. Like I could tell you all you want to know about roofing now. What else?
Like
energy
switches.
Light switches, yeah, like luxury light switches, energy efficiency. Lightsabers.
Yeah.
Lightsabers.
Yeah. One of our clients is a lightsaber.
Well, a saber retailer.
Yeah.
I don't think they're allowed to say lightsaber.
Can't say lightsaber.
So are these toys, or are they adult?
Well, they're like
replicas.
Replicas.
Like
you functional
unofficial replicas that you can hit really hard off things.
And you can go to like battles.
I've still yet to get one though from the client. If you're watching this, Tom.
Tom has a lightsaber.
I've been waiting a long time.
Yeah. Well, carry on.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, we're talking about writing articles and blog writing and stuff, which is a lot of what we do as well. Like I suppose that's one thing that we're really passionate about, and like creating good content for clients that's gonna actually attract the eyes of their target customer and stuff. But sometimes the clients aren't always as like some of them times they've got like really good understanding of the value of content, and then other times do you feel like you have to kind of not convince them, but kind of say, this is why I'm doing this blog, and also they want you to do a blog about a topic, and then you need to explain to them why maybe that topic's not the right one, or it's too promotional and it's not a sales ad, it's actually like an educational piece.
Yeah, definitely. I think it depends on the type of client as well. This is why I'm swaying more towards agencies. When I first started out, it was a little bit of both small businesses and agencies, but because they have that fundamental understanding of marketing anyway, they've done all that research initially, like they've done keyword research to come up with topics for like the editorial calendar and stuff. Whereas, a one-man band plumber or something might just be like, oh, write a blog about pipes.
Yeah, we've got a couple of those.
I've never met with a plumber.
I think that's the best way. Like I much prefer when you work with someone who already has like a marketing professional who can outlay just like what they need.
I don't even think they need to be marketing professional as much as they just need to understand the value of marketing. Like there could be a plumber, but they could just be like, yeah, I understand that it's important to have the right content that gets you found online or whatever. It doesn't have to be like, but yeah, we do work with like photographers and videographers and people who are in the marketing promotional space, but not doing the same as what we're doing. And when you say you're working with agencies, do you mean that you're doing like the agency's own content, or you're doing like client stuff?
A little bit of both, mostly client stuff, but some agencies, too busy working on their own clients, godless children, no shoes and all that. So I do just write for their blogs while just talking about general marketing trends or like the latest Google update. Yeah, I really enjoy that actually. It's probably my favorite topic to write about. I don't know why.
Yeah, same. We do lots of like marketing, digital like app and web development type stuff. Like it's just nice to talk. I don't know, I find that stuff quite good. What about you? What's your favorite, Craig? Other than the lightsaber stuff, because that's pretty awesome.
I'm not sure really. I like everything. But obviously, like there's one client in mind that will write a lot of sort of technology heavy stuff for that I quite like, because it's quite in depth, and they're a good, reliable client. I think I can write about anything. To be honest, I don't really have a specific preference. I just like clear. Like I really like working with clients that can give sort of a clear brief and don't expect the world from the results of it. They just want you to fulfill the brief. And as long as you do that well, that's what matters. I think it's difficult, like you say, when you've got clients who expect everything from a blog post, you know, go on a rank number. Like you were joking yesterday about a client who was like, why am I not one on Google yet? And it's yeah.
And it was like a brand new website that like Google will still be indexing and all that. And it's hard to explain because we only understand like a fraction of it, you know, because we're not technical SEOs. And even a technical SEO is only making assumptions based on the information that they've got. So it's like, there's only so much information we can provide. Like we use the keywords and we do all the things, but can't guarantee that that's going to be the one that appears on Google. It could be like something else, you know, that someone wrote 3 years ago that's ranking. We've got a client that's got this one article that keeps ranking all the time. That's like really good, but actually the people that are clicking on that article aren't their prospective customers. They're other people who want to know that information. So it's just trying to explain it like to this client understands that, but some clients might be like, well, more of that because that's the one that's getting the traffic, and then actually the traffic's not the most valuable thing. It's the leads or the click-throughs or whatever.
Yeah, understanding what is most important to measure is a huge part of it, I think.
So you said you're limited now. How long have you been in limited business for?
Well, somebody helped me become limited. Thank you very much. That was
Katie's just copying my life. She even has a Craig co-director.
What year were you born?
91.
We're 91 babies. So
I'm a 31-year-old. Oh my God, I've lost my thread. What was the question?
Oh, that's because we've been talking about 30 under 30 and things like that. That's how I knew that you were older than us.
Oh yeah, I've definitely missed all those dates, but it's fine. Whatever.
It means nothing.
When did you? I think Ellen asked when did
limited.
you become limited? Yeah, how long ago?
Around the same time as us, I think.
So it was the 18th of September. I remember because it's my brother's birthday. So it was just something I was like so scared of doing, and I don't know why. I think I was just like, oh, there'll be loads of tax I don't understand, but actually it saves you money, and it makes you, you know, it gives you some credibility, doesn't it? Craig and I were actually talking about going VAT registered as well, because I know you are, or you're pre, or
we are now. We went at the same time just because the obviously like anyone who's watching this, like ask your accountant for advice, but when you get to a certain threshold of earnings as a sole trader, it becomes better to be a limited company, but not at the start. So that's the issue, that some people will start limited and actually it was better to be sole trader, and then obviously an accountant can advise better, but our accountant had said to just do the VAT thing at the same time, because then it meant that we weren't going to be like 2 months, 3 months down the line of being limited and then having to rejig the business again. And it just worked out, like, because of the projected earnings and stuff, it worked out fine. And we've had like a really busy start to the year as well with some big website projects. So it's been good. But the VAT thing's, it's fine, but it's just obviously when you have to pay your VAT back, you're like, it makes your earnings look huge. And then every quarter they're like, this much thousands of pounds, please. And you're like, oh, and you have to like put it in a separate bit of your bank account.
So I don't know if I'm going off tangent here, but this might be a good one for all the freelancers out there. If you are working with people who are also quite small and not VAT registered, and then you go VAT registered and you suddenly have to plonk another 20% on their bill, has that happened to you yet?
That's the downside of it. Like we have, I would say mostly agencies like you. So we have a lot of like marketing agencies and a couple of IT companies who didn't bother at all. But then we do have some one-man bands that aren't VAT registered, and like it did affect them. But I don't think we lost anyone because of it. And if we haven't like lost any clients, it's just been the transition was an awkward phase, because I had said to people, look, because we're VAT registered now, this is the case, but maybe for the transition of the next 2 months, like we can take the hit of 10% of it or something, just to keep them going. But most of the time they've actually been really happy for us and for me, like, because they've worked with me since day one, and then they're like, wow, can't you VAT register already and you're a limited company, that's great. And then also I think demand breeds demand. So when people realize that you're in demand, the person that they used to be able to just ring and speak to for like an hour about a blog post, now they have to like make an appointment, and like we're too busy and we can't take work on with like less than a week's notice, like there's been offered to us this week. Whereas previously I would have just said yes to everything. It just means that the people who are like time waster types maybe go and look elsewhere, and then the people who do want to wait and get the work out of us, it just makes them want to do more. It's like it's that scarcity thing, I guess. That's, but in terms of your question about that, like it definitely was something that like Craig was particularly worried about as well, weren't you, about like just like putting a 20% on all of our prices, but it's not been the be all and end all. We're still making growth most months. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I'm just thinking of a couple of clients who are quite small, and I know they've told me that they're not that registered, but they might be on a similar sort of journey as I am.
Yeah.
But I'm just a bit worried if I turn around. Probably going to happen about July maybe. And I'm just worried they're going to be like, what's this extra 20%? How can I? Ooh. But you never know. We shall see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
But like from your point of view, it's beneficial for them to keep working with you because you know the work you deliver is like they've been getting it for long enough and they're happy with it. And it's, if they want to find somebody else like another freelancer, it's going to be a faff on for them, and then they're going to have to rebrief them, and then the quality of the work is different, and it's easier for people to stay with you once the relationship is there, unless there becomes like a breakdown and like the client is really unhappy with the quality of the work or whatever. But
I think none of our clients as well, like we don't probably do enough in hours for any of them where 20% would be like a huge added cost, like if you were talking like a couple of days worth of projects and you're going into the thousands, and then you've got to do 20% on top of 1,000 is way different to 20% on top of a couple £100.
Like, what's your like spread like, Katie? Because for us, we've got a lot of clients on like reason like on like not small, but like on amounts of money each month, as opposed to like one or two that make up the majority of them.
I think that's definitely the best way to go about it. Probably, I was looking at this the other day when we were talking about it. I think kind of probably about 12 definitely like on retainer sort of definite sort of amounts each month, and then others that there's nothing strictly this amount of content, but it's more or less a dead cert that they will come in each month with XYZ sort of thing. So
that's about the same as like what I was like when we started. And then you hear some freelancers say like they've only they've got 2 clients or something. I think like that's a dangerous position to be in, because if you lose a client, like even if you're making the same amount of money, so you got 2 clients but you're bringing in £5,000 a month, like that's great. But what if you lose a client, and that's you could lose a couple of grand a month. And when I first started, I had one client that was like on like probably 2/3 of the income, and it was dangerous, because then I felt really like I needed to drop everything for them as well. So like they would ring me and be like, can you do this, and I'll be like I guess, but like, and then because of the fear of losing them. Whereas now obviously it sucks to lose a client, and some of them are like we're really friendly with, and I really wouldn't want to lose them. Financially it wouldn't be a massive disaster if we lost any of them. Like we're not gonna go bankrupt or anything.
I think at the moment we're in a position where both of us are feeling so tired as well. Like just
get the time back to rest. I guess
sometimes like in some ways losing clients wouldn't be a huge disaster, because it would give us some time to like
but it
refocus
would be, because then you would like
but I wouldn't
when
be
the
making
invoice
money.
day comes and you realize you're not sending as many invoices as normal.
It's that case, I think, when you're when you're a small business, of like the grass is kind of greener the other way around. You're either too busy and you want some time off, or you're quiet.
Feast or famine,
and
is that what you mean?
feast or famine. Yeah, that's a good term for it. How did you end up like setting your business up in York, considering that you originate from down south?
Craig down south is just a blur. Anything below York, even
York south.
Craig's thinking that, and he says down south, and you'll say I'm from wherever, and then he'd be like, but that's just a blur to me.
Where are you from originally?
Doncaster. That's a joke.
I know.
I had a moment where I was like, oh no.
I know where Doncaster is.
I'm pretty sure that's relatively quite old. But my mom's kind of the same, but the other way around. Like anything north of the Watford Gap, that's the north. And it's like, what was that? Like Hertfordshire. So I got into 2 unis, Southampton and York, and my sister went to Southampton, so I didn't want to just copy her. So I went to York in 2008 and loved it. Met Craig here. Much easier just to settle down here, and I wasn't that drawn to like working in London or like commuting into London, because I kind of grew up not in like central London, but kind of like zone 5 near like Heathrow Airport, so kind of like the outskirts. I had all the access to the tubes and everything, and I had that kind of London vibe or whatever, and I could see how hard it is just to live and work in London. And I feel like it's a rite of passage for everyone to get a degree and then go and do a job in the city, but I just it just didn't appeal to me whatsoever because I love this city.
Also, York is like York. Like,
Yeah, York's one of my favorite cities in the whole country. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
like
isn't
I
it?
don't
Right.
know anyone who's watching this. I know people watch this from like all over the country, but if you've not been there, especially at Christmas, it's like the best place. Like just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like the town center and the 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 buildings and the shambles and the castle and the minster. I can't speak, and all that kind of stuff. Just not comparable to any other place other than maybe like Durham or something for like just architectural wonder.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I can see
yeah.
why you decided to stay there.
I think it's probably fair. I mean, I don't know the South very well, but it's probably fair to guess that like the majority of people that live anywhere near London are kind of expected to have to work in London. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how the pandemic will change that.
I saw a thing this morning. A few people were tweeting. I don't know if the data has come out yet, but huge quantities of people have left London in the first and second lockdowns, and like because people, what's the point in paying the rent? Because most people aren't from London City. Whoops. So like they're going back to like their parents or whatever, and then being able to work remotely, so they're earning London money, but not living in London. And then I think it's going to really affect London landlords. Will be losing out because £1,000 for a little box room and
Oh
stuff.
no, the poor London
No, I'm not
landlords.
making out that they're victims. I'm just saying that like they'll have to rethink charging people ridiculous money for like little closets without windows.
I hope the working remotely thing helps, like decentralize the way
De-Londonize.
well, the only reason you get paid a London salary is to pay London house prices. So and obviously you're not just going
And
to
even
start
then, it doesn't
slashing.
cover it.
They're not just going to start slashing salaries. So hopefully it'll have an add-on effect of raising the average salary everywhere else because people work hard and deserve to be living above the breadline, not just constantly scratching it. Anyway, not to get on a high horse there. How do you feel like York is as a city to run a business from?
Yeah, I think it's very kind of up and coming, certainly in like sort of the digital sphere, because we have Leeds so close by. That's such a big competitor. It's like we're a really tiny little fish in a huge pond, but it's really well connected. It's easy to get to Leeds and Manchester, Newcastle. So there's a really lovely community spirit in York. There are a lot of networking groups and things like that, and like arts and culture, like Make It York and York Mediali and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a very kind of small business feel, but at the same time you can be connected to these other major cities really easily. So it's perfect for me. I feel like if I were a larger agency, and I know that a lot of large businesses do struggle to recruit talent because it's all in Leeds. So I'm quite happy being the size I am. And to live here, because I just feel like Leeds would probably be kind of like London, like I say, just like a lot more expensive. Whereas now I'm quiet and no one bothers me. It's nice.
On that topic, do you feel like it'll always be, not always, but is your plan for it to just be like you and like the business to stay relatively the same size, or are you going to get a big flashy office and become the next agency?
I've written about this, I've talked about this so much, and I don't know, because this whole thing kind of started A, to kind of flex my writing muscles, but B, because we wanted to save for a house. We just wanted a bit of extra pocket money, and I need to get past that now because that was 5 years ago. Like, so actually this is my living, and this is quite a nice living sort of thing. So and it's getting to the point, like today Craig is upstairs right now doing his first piece of writing for me, like
how exciting.
I know. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely time to I don't know, I suppose what's the natural progression? Is it to start hiring freelancers and outsourcing a little bit, and then you become an agency?
I don't even think that it has to be any set way. Like that's what like I think it's just like what your lifestyle, what you would work backwards from what you want your lifestyle to be to how the business is, instead of like what you need the business to be. Because I think people, I'm not like get down on anybody who wants to start an agency, because people do still want to start agencies, but personally, like we've had the agency experience, and like we kind of just like to be here. And like some people don't want to work at home, they want to have an office, but we like to work at home. But then that's not to say that in 5 years we might want a separate space, but like as of right now, we're happy to be like the size that we are. And like I prefer, if things get too much, I would rather work with other freelancers than hire somebody. But that's just my personal choice, because I know enough we know loads of freelancers, so it's easy to pass work on and make
definitely referrals.
I
just
think
with
the job I just left, I'd managed people, and it was my first experience.
Yeah,
like,
and we've both had
directly
like
managing
pretty
people.
crappy people management. Like neither of us are particularly great managers of people.
I don't like it at all.
So
yeah, I agree with you. I'm probably more like a David Brent. Like I just want everyone to
yeah,
like me.
yeah,
Don't know what I'm
exactly.
doing.
We'll just become people's friends.
I was
and then,
exactly like that, an absolute clown. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I guess it doesn't work when people are like, "Can I have a raise?" And I'm like, "Actually, it's not up to me. It's up to my manager. So I'm not
Mhm.
really the friend I'm trying to be because I can't give you what you want."
but I
So
guess that's more agency life where
yeah,
you're like a plastic manager.
yeah. I suppose one day we might end up hiring people if it comes to if it comes to like having children and wanting more passive income, and we could find people we trusted. Who knows anyway where the future holds. Same for you, Katie. I think probably you just need to get it to the point where you increase your rates so that you do, like, you get more for less, and then you don't have to.
Yeah.
Once clients start
Yeah.
knocking you back because your rates are too high, that's when you stop.
That's happening now. Look. Yeah.
Do you just work by
But
yourself now, or does Craig do something else?
yeah, so Craig's been on furlough since, oh God, whenever all this started. He works in like hotel wholesale. And I was doing a little bit of marketing for them, but obviously being hotels and travel, Corona, just not doing that anymore. But he is now, since we went limited, I made him like a director, and he's very good at like data visualization. So he's got like a master's degree in computer science. So he's really good. I don't think you've heard of like Tableau, but like getting all data and putting it into graphs and stuff. I was like, whoa, how do you do that? So we're kind of thinking long term, kind of branch out and offer people like some sort of reporting service, like they can't make head or tail of their Google Analytics or whatever.
And
what
conversion rate optimization and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So if we were to get all that data and present it into something like bite-sized and manageable, and I could like work up the report, and Craig would do all the illustration side of things. But yeah, that's how he's helping. And he just generally helps with kind of like the admin stuff. Like he is in charge of finance, just because he's got like QuickBooks and everything set up because he's very technical. And I'm just
wouldn't
like,
mind if that was the case here for adding all of the invoices and stuff. And it's, I mean, I think maybe I keep saying this every week. Maybe one day I'll be like, I've hired a VA, but every week I'm like, probably get a VA soon, so that I don't have to send any invoices, because that's just like soul destroying on the last day of the month. I kind of have to, I lose the whole day just sending invoices, and it just becomes like, it shouldn't really take me a whole day, but it does, because then I have to like cross-reference with what I've done that month. And some clients get the same every month, but most of them don't. So then you have to work out what you did and how much to charge. And then I'm like going, how much did you do for that client? Like shouting down the stairs, and he's shouting up. And then it just, it would be better to have a better structure for that.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of automated it a little with Harpoon, which is kind of like an invoicing and time management, project management software. But so it's good for like chasing invoices, but you still have to fundamentally write it all in. So. Yeah, something to think about.
So I suppose the other topic that we haven't discussed is how we actually met Katie. We met on Twitter, and we met over talking about, I can't remember who talked about first. One of us talked about losing a parent, because obviously if you're watching this, you probably know, if you've read the newsletter, that my mum passed away in 2019 from pancreatic cancer. And I think I had maybe said something about that on Twitter, and then Katie had shared a similar story, or maybe Katie had shared it and I had replied, but obviously only as much as you want to talk about it, but we'll talk about mental health and things in the podcast. So
yeah, of course.
Just, do you want to share your experience with like that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it was just so weird. It's like I'm uncanny. Like we're sort of the same sort of age, we've got the same academic background, and both had a really similar, except it was your mum and my dad. But yeah, and both have a Craig. But yeah, so gosh, November 2018, I remember exactly where I was. I was in London giving a talk on like SEO for beginners, just like with a classic PowerPoint or whatever. And there was like a little 5-minute break, and I just had a chance to just glance at my phone. I couldn't read it properly, but it was a group message to me and all my brothers and sisters. And it was like, hi kids, don't panic, but I've had a bit of a funny result in one of my diabetic checks. And so that was November, and then there were a few more tests, and then I think it was the 5th of January 2019, it was, it's terminal. We've got 6 to 18 months. It was pancreatic cancer, so it like developed to his liver, and
that's mad. So it was the same month.
Yeah.
It was within days, because I think it was the was it the 4th of January? I don't know, it was like the first week of January for me as well, when we were in Sydney.
Right.
But that's when I got the phone call, and it was just like very, very, very similar story in that whole getting a funny scan and then investigating it a little bit. But we were a bit behind because they didn't know what it was for a couple of weeks. But I think that was more just the NHS being a little bit under strain and not listening to
Well,
what she was saying.
yeah, that's the thing. And like, my dad was supposed to have this, I want to say a CT scan, and it was like, oh yeah, you should get that booked in. And then like 5 weeks passed and just nothing happened.
Yeah.
And obviously with him suffering with the illness, kind of a little bit in denial, didn't really want to chase it. So I was like, right, Dad, we need to sort this. So I was like ringing up all these people. And in the end, I ended up booking a private one for him. And then they rang up and said the machine's broken down. And then, and then he got one on the NHS anyway. And I can't help thinking, like, if we'd acted quicker in those 5 weeks, could it have been different? But that's what it is. So January sort of time, I was just, because he lived in Lancashire, so I was just back and forth across the M62 like every week. And it must have been quite overwhelming for him because he's got 5 kids, and a lot of the time we are all descending on him at once. You know, I'm sure it's the same with your mum, like he's not exactly full of the joys of spring.
It was a pretty, like, because it was the same pancreatic cancer for us as well, and like that's notoriously one of the well, it's one of like the worst cancers to get, really, but also most painful. So like the it's, lots of people have different cancer experiences, but pancreatic cancer is one of those things that the weight just drops off. That's, you know, they're sick before they can even get treatment. Like the pain, the back pain and stuff was so bad. Like it was not my I like, we had a lot, I don't know, obviously I don't know what your dad was like, but my mom was like a pretty difficult person to be around during those weeks. She was like very short and very like angry, and just she had like a lot of emotion, and she was just very grumpy and didn't want anyone to help her, because she actually was a nurse as well, worked in the NHS. So everyone, she knew better than everyone, and it was really frustrating for her, and to be stuck in this like position where she couldn't barely even like leave the house, and kept trying to do things, and she would like drive to my grandma's, and then we'd have to go and pick her up because she'd get too ill to come back. And I mean, when you're that age, you know, she was 59. I don't know how old your dad was, but you don't expect to just lose your independence within a matter of weeks.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, he was 60. This is so weird.
Wow, that's cool.
And it is weird because in sort of January, it was almost like he wasn't fine, but he seemed okay. And then like February, things suddenly took a turn, and it was like his blood pressure was dropping, and he was like, he couldn't get up and walk a few steps without faint. And, you know, he had like these big cuts on his head where he'd fallen over. And every week it would just get worse. And it got to the point where, okay, you're spending all day on the couch. And then the next week it was, he's in bed the whole time.
Yeah.
And by this point, he lost like 3 stone, and he completely like turned yellow, and just, it was just a shadow of his former self. Really,
yeah. We would like look back on the week before and be like, remember last week when she could do that? And it was like, remember last week she went to Morrison's last week, and now she can't leave the house. And then she's sitting in front of Come Dine With Me all day. And then I was like, remember when she was sitting on the sofa? Now she's like in bed. And then when she was into palliative care, I was like, can't believe that she was making herself a cup of tea. And it was just like every week was like there was like the last time she was able to do something for herself, to the point where we ended up in palliative care for like a couple of weeks, and then she came home for a bit. Like she came home for 3 days and then went back, because my dad, like, not that my dad couldn't cope, but nobody could cope, because it's like she needed proper palliative care. But it was just like that feeling of like the decline for cancer is awful, but the decline in that space of weeks, to be able to go from being like independent but like in a bit of stomach pain to being bedridden within like weeks is crazy. It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like the turning point, I feel like, because my dad, he never went into care, he was at home the whole time, but was when he was moved out of his main bed into the spare room, and like both my brothers, both big burly boys, like lifted him up into this wheelchair and just moved him into the other room. And I was just like, how is that my dad? Like, he's not saying a word, he just looks so frail. And then he spent his final days in that bed.
And those moments are like scarred into your brain a little bit, aren't they, when you see like a parent in a person who has always been in a position of like authority kind of in your life, and like always been like infallible, and your parents are your parents, and you know, and then all of a sudden you see them in like this position of like extreme vulnerability. It's like, especially a person with personality that's not used to showing vulnerability or used to asking for help,
Yeah.
which most
Oh
people in
God,
our
yeah.
generation aren't anyway.
No.
It was just, yeah, I know exactly what we had similar moments like that like are like scarred into my brain like forever, just like wheelchair moments and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the end, I said, look, why don't we get like a baby monitor, and then we're in the other room, because we don't just sit in there while he's sleeping, but just to listen for any changes in his breathing and stuff. And yeah, that's where it got to in the end. And I mean, it was really strange knowing, because I didn't live around the corner. Like one day I went to say goodbye, and I knew, I could just tell it was going to happen. It was, so my dad's brother, he lives in America, and he'd come over, and he just kept changing his ticket. He just kept staying, because as you know, as it got worse. And he had a friend over who had never left the United States, like in his 60s, never left the country. And because most of the time we were just sort of standing around waiting for the inevitable, I was like, look, why don't I take your friend to York? Let's just give him a day off, because bless him, he's come over here for a holiday. He's just coming to do this. And yeah, I think it was a Saturday, and I drove him home, and then like 5:30 in the morning on the Sunday, I got the call. So it's like, oh man. So, but I knew there and then that saying goodbye would be like the last one. But I suppose, I don't,
how long after that, like finding out in January, when did he pass away? Like how many months was it?
2. So January the 5th, and he died on the 10th of March.
Yeah,
so
it was the 16th of April for us, so we had a similar time period, and we also had a similar. We had a 6. Well, he gone to work. He was going to Manchester, so he's on the metro, and I had like a 6 o'clock phone call from my auntie, and he rang him, and he turned around on the metro and came back, because like, but his work knew that this was going to happen, so like they knew that when the time came, he could have some like a couple of days off, which he did. But it was like, even though I don't know about you, but we had like, even it was a short period of time, and I know a lot of people have cancer for years and years, but this anticipatory grief was really strange for me, and I still think that's a really weird phenomenon, because you're like grieving for somebody who's still there, and then you feel guilty about it, and then when they're gone, you start again. It's like this very strange feeling, because you're grieving for the independence that they used to have, and like the person that they used to be.
Definitely. I remember when my granddad was dying, just, for like old age, like dementia or whatever, my nan sort of said, well, I lost him a few months ago, really, because like you say, their mental faculties and stuff. So yeah, it's weird to think, yeah, you are grieving before it actually happens. I don't know if that's better or worse. Is it better if it's sudden, or is it better that you have time to prepare? There's a no nice.
I think it's like, for me, for as an out, like obviously it was your mom and not mine, so it wasn't as, it was really close and hit me really hard, but not like, obviously it's not the same. And for me, it was more like disbelief. Like I just couldn't believe that it was happening, and I still struggle to believe that it's happened. Like I still sometimes expect to just drive back to your old house and like mom still be there and everything.
Yeah.
And like tell her like all the daft stuff like that's gone on and stuff, and just like have that cheeky like banter I used to have with her, because me and Ellen's mum had like a funny, just like I can't really explain it, but just like a funny old thing where she had a lot of like
foibles,
like built-in ways that I found strange, and I was the only one that would call her out on them because everyone else was a bit scared. So like like she was funny.
Call her out, but
well,
you would say,
I would like jibe at her, and I think she knew that as well. She knew I was cheeky, and like she liked it, and yeah, it was just strange. It's so like it happened so fast, and I think even now, like, well, it's been nearly 2 years or something. It just still doesn't quite feel real, and
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like how much of an impact did that have on your business at the time? Because obviously Ellen set up Content by the Sea so she could sort of have more free time to care for her mom.
Yeah.
And then it turned out.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, back then I probably wasn't as busy as I am now, sort of thing, wasn't as well established. But the kind of turning point was I put out something on LinkedIn saying like, look, I'm really sorry if I don't reply to your emails, but I'm going through a really hard time personally. And then I put it on, or like screenshot it and put it on Twitter, and then the emails started coming in saying like, you okay? And then some of my clients started telling me how they lost their parents and stuff, and they were all just really lovely, because I didn't have that many clients at the time. But one of them was just like, look, I know we've got a set number of hours this month or whatever, but it's fine, just take all the time you need. And they were so nice, and I was so scared, because like, like we were talking about earlier, you're so scared you're going to lose a client over the tiniest thing. But people are human at the end of the day. So yeah, I wouldn't say it. I didn't lose any clients over it or anything. It just sort of put everything on pause. And then best timing ever, we'd also had this 2-week holiday booked because it was Craig's 30th. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, look, I won't go. And he was like, no, you go on that holiday. And it just so happened that he died 5 days before we were due to go. So, and then like my dad's wife's family were going away at different times. So we had to have the funeral really quickly.
Yeah.
Like literally 5 days after, had the funeral, went to Barbados. So it's just
Well, I could definitely think of worse places to go, but like, especially when it depends, I suppose, on family and stuff, but like, it can be quite like not suffocating, I guess, like, because everyone comes out for funerals and it's just like everyone's there, and it was like, whoa, okay, like this is a lot. Like we had a double funeral because my granddad died at the same time, so it was like a huge funeral. There was like hundreds of people there, 2 caskets. It was so traumatic, and it was like so overwhelmingly crazy, and you're just trying to grieve for your mom or your dad. Like I was just like there and I was like in the front row, just and there's like all these people that you worked with and people that my granddad had worked with, and it was like, whoa, like the idea of just like the overwhelm of, I mean, that sounds mad now because funerals are restricted to like a certain number of people, but it was before any of that, so you could squeeze as many people as you wanted into the crematorium at the time, and they did. So did you actually take any like formal time off other than your holiday, or did you kind of just work around it?
No, I mean, I even did a bit of work on holiday, which is really bad. No, only really the holiday. And one of my clients was like, whatever you do not throw yourself back into work because you'll just be putting off your grief even more. And did I listen to him? No.
I don't know if I agree with that, because like I worked the whole time. I didn't like take, but I had a similar situation to you where I only had a few clients. I didn't have like loads of clients, and like, so it wasn't like as in demand as I am now. I think if it happened now, I would have to take time off, but I wouldn't say that I like put off the grief or anything by working. I just think that I had to, because I couldn't just stay at home and be like, okay, time to grieve, and just just exist. Like it didn't, like I couldn't do that. Like I had to do something.
What's that noise?
Yeah. Be like,
is it Potter crying?
Something. The dogs are up to something naughty downstairs.
Oh, something's going on. Anyway, we've been on for a while now, so
sorry. Yeah.
No, not you. It's us talking as well. So we're coming to an end. So I'm going to end on what's like your biggest like advice for somebody who is dealing with like a personal tragedy and running a business at the same time. Like what sort of, given that obviously somebody had said to you, don't throw yourself back into work, and it might be different for everybody, what would be the sort of thing you would say to somebody who, because I know obviously in a time of pandemic, there's been a lot of people losing loved ones, or people's loved ones are in awful, situations in hospital and stuff, and they're having to exist at the same time with their business. What would you say to someone like that?
I would say actually let your guard down. You're not just a brand, you are a human being. Just be honest with them. That can be quite daunting, but just be like, look, I've got to be honest, I'm really going through some hard personal stuff. You don't have to tell them if not, and actually you might see a different side of them, and it might open them up and have a bit more chat, like it did with my clients, because we are all human at the end of the day. So just let your guard down.
And I can't see anybody reacting negatively to that. And if somebody, if you said to a client, I'm going through a hard personal time, even if you didn't say specifically what it was, or you just said a family member's not well, anybody who reacts to that in a way where they go like, well, are you still going to hit my deadline or whatever? That's not a client that you want. Like, that's just showing a red, exactly. It's just like a red flag, just like, okay, then bye. Like, nobody goes on like that. The fear of what people think or what people might say is always worse than what people actually say when you tell them.
Absolutely.
So that's a good ending point for us. And now I've got like lots of giant files to mess with that I'll do for the rest of the week.
Thank you.
And hopefully this will go out on Sunday. So thank you very much for your time, Katie. It's been lovely chatting to you.
No worries.
Hello, cheers having you. Ellen's talked a lot about you, and I think this might be the first time we've actually met.
And then hopefully we'll meet in person in the summer. Kate's hosting a party. That's how excited she is.
Please God, yes. Everyone behave yourselves so that we can do this. Yes.
I know, behave yourself specifically so that Kate can hold out when this is all over party.
Are you wearing 2 watches, Katie? I've been meaning to ask your podcast.
Yeah. They were both gifts. This is just a normal watch, and then this is an Apple Watch I got at Christmas.
Nice.
If I keep it on, it reminds me to stand up.
You can tell the time in 2 different places at once.
Yeah. It's great.
2 different places.
Yeah.
like countries.
Oh, right, if you wanted to, yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
the
true.
Apple
Yeah.
Watch would do that anyway. Like you could put multiple clocks on that Apple Watch.
All right, all right.
No, I'm not getting rid of this one. It's pretty.
I like the Fonz t-shirt as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought I'd wear.
I'm surprised that he's not made an appearance on the podcast.
He was been on the bed all day, and then there he is.
No.
Hey,
He's giving you the
go
look.
outside, you lazy. But you are.
He's just giving you like a stare. It's like I
Yeah.
didn't consent to this.
You're famous now. Oh dear.
Okay, well I'll end the podcast so then I can turn off the recording devices. Well,
Okay,
thanks for listening,
cool.
everybody, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. And what else do I say?
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. That's what I say.
Air horns.